Hey guys, what's going on? It's Dan and I am back with another PDPL coach interview. Today I am joined by Snoot. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good, thanks, Dan. How are you?
I'm also doing well. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So why don't we dive right on into it? Do you want to just tell us all a little bit about your VGC and draft background that you had before joining the PDPL?
Yeah, sure. So when did I start with VGC? I think I started sort of realizing VGC existed probably through suggested YouTube videos. At one point, probably 2017, 18-ish, I was watching Baz Anderson was doing daily videos, and I was watching videos from Cybertron too. And I sort of really enjoyed the, half-hour video content format, but I really didn't play. I didn't really understand what actually was informing their decisions, even in the games. And then come this release of Sword and Shield, I had a bit more time. I'd recently moved and I sort of got into the VGC, actually playing it myself then, starting with some really mediocre teams on the ladder that struggled to get to Master Ball, and then sort of learning a bit of what it actually had to do.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then in terms of draft, I got my start in draft really because I got to, in the Players Cup 2, I qualified for the world bit of it, and I went 1-2 and was eliminated pretty quickly. But the person who I beat in the final round of the Oceania Championship was his name's Chris, and he invited me into the OPL, which was a league he was setting up, for it's called Oceania Premier League, so for this region with a couple of other people. And yeah, I thought it'd be pretty cool. I didn't really have a great understanding of what the strategy differences were to regular VGC, other than obviously using a fairly different set of Pokemon. But I started playing that, and I went well enough to get to represent it in the MGU representative league of 16 leagues, and went well enough in that in the first couple of weeks to get just beaten by you, and then you invited me to join this league, which has been really good.
I feel like well enough. I feel like you're understating a little bit. Didn't you go 13-0 and win the championship?
10-0 in the OPL. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. 10-0.
Yeah. And then I went pretty well in the MGU too, but I did not win that one. I got beaten pretty handily in the first week of finals. So.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. You had the same matchup 2 weeks in a row, and that can be a little tricky last week of the regular season into first week of playoffs.
Yeah, it was actually quite tricky. And then, some choices that I made in the last week that didn't come up would have been better in the finals week. So it was interesting. But my opponent played me well in the finals and beat me. So that's good on him, really.
So you've only been doing a couple of draft leagues at this point, and I believe OPL was a Nomax format, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So the first max draft league I did was MGU. And this is the second one.
Yeah. So generally, do you prefer the Nomax or the Max format?
I quite like Max. I've probably enjoyed them both about equally so far. It was nice playing Nomax as a contrast to what was happening in VGC, but I do quite like the decisions that go into Max, and I still enjoy it quite a lot.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So generally, talking about your team, you went for Blastoise in the first round. Is that something that no matter where you were picking, you were going to take Blastoise, or did you have some high-value tier 1s that you would have considered if they were available there?
My honest opinion was that Blastoise was the best option in terms of value versus tier, but having said that, there was such a strong consensus within the coaches that Celesteela was the best first pick. I honestly don't know what I would have done because, like you alluded to earlier, I don't have a huge amount of experience in draft formats in general and max draft formats, and I might have just ceded to general wisdom and taken Celesteela first. I think anywhere else, I probably would have taken Blastoise, and I liked both because I thought it was the best value for the tier available, and because I liked the approach of taking lower tier first.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because you got the Indeedee later in the round that I feel like pairs very well with Blastoise. But how did you feel about your team as a whole? Were you happy with the strategy you approached in the draft and how it's been performing so far, or are there some things like if you could do the draft again, you would change about it?
I'm happy with how it's been performing so far. I'm happy with the approach I took in the draft in terms of I was happy trying to get earlier, going to tiers before other people got to them and trying to take what I saw to be the best available option in a tier. I was happy with that strategy. In terms of the actual Pokemon I ended up picking, I am still happy with them, but I'm not like cast iron sold or anything. They were actually the best options, apart from Blastoise, which I think was really good. And I actually think Herdier was a really good tier, or tier in 6 option. Overall, though, I'm happy with I'm happy with the strategy I employed. With more knowledge, maybe I would have taken a slightly different Pokemon in the tiers that I did, but hey, that knowledge has not, come to me yet. So at this point, I would still have done the same thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I believe Blastoise is the kill leader for the league thus far through seven games for everyone. So, not saying that it was a wrong decision, because it's definitely been performing the way that you needed it to. Were there any Pokemon that you were going to take that, were major snipes for you, or did you basically get what you wanted because of your strategy of dropping into those low tiers?
Yeah, I suppose. What do I think about that? I was very tempted to take Arcanine. I sort of wanted Arcanine with the beat up stuff I had, being a sort of tier 2. I thought Arcanine was pretty good value, and I could beat up with Weavile and offer Intimidate. Having said that, I try not to think in terms of getting sniped. What I mostly like to think about is taking picks early that will be flexible and powerful relative to their tier, and then having the ability to take whatever's left in other tiers that will accompany them well. So I prefer to not have a plan set to the extent that I'm thinking of taking a specific Pokemon, 6th or whatever, and feeling like if someone else took it that I got sniped. I think I try not to, think about drafts like that. Don't know if that's a common philosophy.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I don't really think about more than 1 or 2 picks ahead most of the time. Some people will map out their whole draft, but if I'm in round 6, I'm like, it'd be nice to get these 2 next, and I think that's about as far ahead as I'll go. So I basically agree with you there. So this question is going to be framed pretty weird, considering you've lost a total of 3 draft matches in your life. But how would you rate the level of competition in this league compared to other leagues you've been in? And I guess that's a much narrower scope of question too, given that you've only been in 2 other leagues.
Yeah, I think in the OPL there was a lot of people with similar levels of experience to me, which was 0 leagues in the first season. So this is obviously a significant step up from that. The MG, I was pretty intimidated to begin with, and I think there was, quite good level of skill in that. But obviously I went relatively well in that too, to the finals. I think, in a sense, like I've been playing for a short enough time that every opponent is still sort of scary, and it feels like maybe I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like you said, I've lost 3 matches. Eventually I'm going to have to start losing more, and they're going to come, in a row. And
it happens to everyone at some point.
Yeah, you just worry that, I just worry that, maybe I've just been running absurdly hot, and when I start losing, it's going to be really ugly. But so in that sense, every match worries me. But the level of skill in this league and watching other matches and playing the matches I've played has been, there's nothing. There's not an easy win or anything. It's the match I got beaten, Solonor absolutely crushed me. Like, it was not even close. So
that was interesting. You were just maxing Blastoise in front of Regieleki. I was very confused watching that. I mean, I can understand a bit of it, but man, Regieleki does so much damage.
Yeah, that's right. And he was just volt switching out, eating my Lacan Berry, and then beating me in the late game with his max. So it didn't work, and I didn't come up with a better plan in game 2, and he beat me the same way, basically. I did not have a very good plan against his team, I guess. I wasn't expecting Scarf Regieleki. I don't know how much that affected me. But he just picked a team and played the way that beat the way I was playing pretty comprehensively. I had a pretty, like the first 3 weeks of the season, I had two really close matches that I could easily have lost either of, and that one which I got beaten pretty badly. So it started off, I was feeling lucky to be 2-1, and felt like I needed to turn something around to justify that those 2 wins.
Yeah, then you started running fairly hot, I guess you could say. But looking at the last 3 weeks of the season, you're going to be playing C-Rad, Max, and Tay. Is there a matchup in there that you are most excited or most nervous about?
Well, I'm always most nervous about the next one, basically, whoever I'm preparing for next. Sort of alluded to that before, but and when you look at their team and you look at your team, you're sort of thinking, oh no, I could do this, but if they do that, and there's a whole level of doubt that no matter what I bring, it might, they might have the perfect counter team for it, and it's possible with them. With the teams that are in this league, it's definitely possible, pretty much all the time, in my experience, that if they knew what I was going to bring, they could bring something that would beat it, or have a very good win percentage against it. So I'm always nervous about the next match. Playing Tay will be interesting too. That's a pretty boring answer because pretty much everyone you've interviewed has said that, but I would have liked to get to play him in the MGU, given we were sort of at the top of the leaderboard, and he won and I didn't get to the final, so yeah, it'll be interesting to play him.
Yeah, that'll be a great matchup with some potential seeding implications. What are your thoughts on the format that we're doing instead of a set top 8 where everyone has the same path to the finals? Where if you perform better in the regular season, you get additional buys. Basically, do you think that's a good format moving forward or not? Because it's something I'm considering for future seasons. But I think I'm pretty happy. But I'd love to hear more feedback about it.
Yeah, I really like it. I felt it's partly because I've happened to have 2 good seasons previously, but I felt that, if you win most of your matches and you get to finals and half the league makes finals, it feels a bit underwhelming as a reward to play against someone who's had a slightly worse season than anyone else. So I think this is it's good incentive for people who have been winning to try to keep winning, and it's a good reward for people who had a good season overall. So I think it's really good. I think the only challenge of it is, if there's a very even season, or it can be a bit of a harsh cut on tie breaks, but you can't get both a benefit for winning and no risk if tie breaks cutting someone off, and they can, getting into the playoffs too. So yeah, I actually really like it. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. With tie breaks, I know we've got 5 people tied for 8th right now, so tie breaks are going to be a thing.
Probably going to be one-ish person who gets on 5-5, do you think? And there's going to be a lot of people on that record? Is that probably what it's looking like?
Potentially, but I also know that based on the way a lot of the matchups look, I think there are going to either be less people on 5-5 or more than one's going to get in, because a lot of the people that are around 4-3 right now match up against the 3-4 people. So if the 4-3 people win, then there's going to be less people on 5-5, but if 3-4 people win, then there's going to be 7 people that could be 5-5, but for 3 or 4 slots instead of just 1 slot. So it doesn't feel as bad, but it still feels pretty bad.
It'll still be tough to be, in the bottom half of those 5-5s. I mean, you do know that you lose out on tiebreakers, but if you played a slightly different season, you could have had better tiebreakers, but it's still pretty tough to not make the cut on that.
Yeah, it's time to start focusing on winning games as well as sets, which is, I guess generally well recommended. But I think that's enough about Pokemon. Let's hear a little bit about you as well. You look. I have no idea how old you were. If you said you were 21, I'd believe you. If you said you were 37, I'd believe you. So I don't know if you're to ask what you're doing for school or what you do for work.
Oh, okay. I'm 33, so I'm working.
Okay.
Yeah. So for work, is that going to be the question?
Yeah. So what do you do for work then? Now that we've got that established.
So for work, I work for a plantation forestry management company. So managing the land on which pine trees are planted, basically, organising them to be put into the ground and then eventually harvested, but neither owning the land nor employing the workforce to do the actual work. So a management company that employs contractors to do the planting and harvesting. And I do data. I'm a data analytics officer, so I do data stuff for them.
Makes a lot of sense. Is that something that you, like, a field that you specifically were interested in getting into, or is that something like just the right opportunity fell into your lap and you just sort of kept going with it?
Yeah, more of the second one. I did maths at uni, and in looking for a job, this is the job that I happened to get, and I like the company, I like the people there, so it's been good. But it wasn't. Before I got the job, I didn't really know of the industry at all or anything like that. It wasn't something that I sought out.
Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. So it was sort of a math and statistical related job, but in a field that you weren't 100% aware of. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That checks out. So, when you're not working, besides Pokemon, what other sort of major hobbies do you have?
Oh, what other hobbies do I have? I like sort of the basic hobbies, like reading, watching TV and stuff. I enjoy playing basketball, though I haven't got to do that for a little while. And tennis also, which I also haven't got to do for a little while. What else do I do? Playing other games, I guess.
Sorry if I've triggered an existential crisis.
It's I'm trying to figure out exactly what it is that I spend my time on. It's mostly been Pokemon recently.
I mean, that's pretty fair. Yeah, same here. For a lot of the time, I guess it cycles on and off for when it's busy for that.
Yeah, sometimes you're just feeling motivated to play a lot, and other times you're not feeling motivated to play at all, I guess.
Yeah, and sometimes you're motivated to bring Executor to a regional where you can...
Oh, yeah, that was...
Yes, for those unaware, what regional was that?
Brisbane Regional.
Yeah, the Brisbane Regional, you got top 16 with an Executor team, which was very cool. But
not recommended. I don't encourage anyone else to try that team, but it did manage to win enough for me to get top 16 in that tournament.
But speaking of Brisbane, I know you've gone to a couple different regionals, but outside of Pokemon, do you travel much, or is that just sort of like a Pokemon thing where you take some trips for a weekend to play in a regional?
Yeah, mostly recently it's been Pokemon, although I guess mostly recently there's been extremely limited travel. So I sort of moved, like I'm in a different state to the state I grew up in at the moment for my job, so I sort of go back Victoria, which is the state I'm originally from, semi-frequently. So that's sort of trips. And then I've done a bit of travel, like going to Torquay, which is sort of beach location in Australia, or other Australian locations. But no, recently I haven't really done too much travel. I mean, I just sort of moved here where I am now in Tasmania, I guess 6-ish months ago. So I've been exploring in a small radius around Launceston, which is where I live.
And Tasmania's an island, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Just making
It's an
sure.
island often.
I don't have the best knowledge of Australian geography, but just trying to keep everything straight in my head just a little bit. But I guess
it's an island, but on the bottom right of Australia.
Bottom right, yep. But I guess with COVID, you haven't been able to travel abroad much, which would make sense, I guess.
Australia's a long way from a lot of places. Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah, Australia is a long way from a lot of places. I just randomly looked up flights to Australia one day. It's like, hey, how do you like being in the air for 18 hours straight?
Exactly.
Not really, but it's a choice that could be made.
Some people like it when they visit, but yes, there's probably a lot of places that you don't have to spend basically a whole day in an airplane to get to.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that wrapped up most of the questions that I wanted to get to. Do you have any questions for me before we go ahead and wrap this up?
No, I don't think so. Just thanks for starting the league. Thanks for having me on to have a chat. Thanks to everyone, I guess, watching and who I've played against. And yeah, good luck with the rest of the season to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for joining me. So, this was another PDPL coach interview. If you guys enjoy this type of content, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll have a link to join the Discord below. But until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye.